ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, March 31st. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's show. Our text line this hour is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. We've got some comments today from Marshall football coach Tony Gibson to get into. We'll get to those later on in the program. Marshall winning over Army 82-65, including a 21-0 run in the fourth. Not even just a run, this shut them out. Army got shut down, and Marshall just started hot in the latter part of that third and took that over in the fourth and just kept Army off the scoreboard. Arkansas State beat Cleveland State 71-53, so we'll get a quick review of what that looked like last night. Of course, the Thundering Herd advancing now to the Fab Four and will face off against Arkansas State. That is coming up tomorrow. That's going to be 8 o'clock our time, 7 o'clock locally. Should be a fun one. Two Sunbelt foes getting after each other. I know there's a lot of disappointment today because wanted to host this game, right? Marshall wanted to host this game. Now, the bids were pretty much out there already. We don't have the exact numbers. This is not public knowledge. So, there are some numbers that are floating around there. But it seemed like it was going to be a competitive bid because Gerald Harrison, athletic director of Marshall University, a little disappointed. He actually posted a statement on X. I am extremely disappointed in the outcome of the selection process that denied Herd Nation the opportunity to host the Fab Four matchup of the WNIT. Marshall has proven to be an outstanding venue for women's college basketball, and our attendance throughout the previous rounds reflects the passion and commitment of our fans. The 2,200 supporters who filled the Cam Henderson Center created an electric atmosphere that showcased exactly what this program and community are about. Despite this frustration, I could not be more proud of Coach Folks and our student-athletes. What they have accomplished this season is truly tremendous, and they continue to represent Marshall University with grit, heart, and determination. The statement concludes, "It's still a great day to run with the Herd, and I know our team will give everything they have in Jonesboro. I encourage all members of Herd Nation who are able to travel to come out and support these incredible young women as they continue their journey. We are Marshall," signed Gerald J. Harrison, and that was posted this morning on X. So I think it's just a matter of, and again, I'm completely speculating here, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell you up front, I could be completely wrong, but the bids were probably close to being the same. Arkansas State probably spent a little bit more in bidding for the game. We knew what the turnaround would look like. It would be pretty quick after we found out the opponents or the matchup. And so the Thundering Herd and Arkansas State both have been really good attendance-wise in this tournament. So hopefully Cara can give us a little bit more information on that, and we're going to talk to her in the next few minutes. Until then, we'll get your text in. We'll do that now at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We'll do that throughout the show. You can also find me on X at Paul Swann. So if there's something that you want to ask or something that you want to know, let me know, and we'll try to get to all of those before the show is over. And later on, we're going to hear from Tony Gibson. We've got a couple of player interviews as well. So we'll hear from a few of the guys as we get you closer to the spring game. And, of course, after the spring game, we can start counting the days down until the Marshall Thundering Herd takes the football field for real. The other big story going on in the state today is West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey signing the House Bill 4425 that, in effect, repeals the one-time transfer rule. Now the WVSSAC has oversight again, and that's going to make things interesting because I felt that, and I'm actually in agreement here, that the transfer portal is not something I want to see on a regular basis in high school. If there's a reason why a kid should be given eligibility, if the family has to move for health reasons, maybe, hey, we need to go here, we need to live here because we're getting better medical care. We're going to be long-term in this hospital here, so we've got to change schools. We got to change. I'm just throwing that out as an off example here. Or there's a better job opportunity for the family. We're going to have to leave where we're at, and we're going to have to go elsewhere in the state, and we have a better job opportunity. I'm not talking about one of those mysterious, oh, hey, one-time job opportunities. You know the ones I'm talking about. So I'm okay with this. And still, I think the process will be fair. I just don't want to see, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm going to go and play. If, say, you're a Huntington Highlander and you think that the Spring Valley Timberwolves are going to have a better team, you know what? I think I'm just going to play over there. I'm going to get on board with that. And it's really decimated some of the smaller schools because you've got some good players. Now, I know the argument completely is going to be, well, what about those kids? Why should they not have the opportunity? Well, there's some details involved with this transfer rule. There will be a process, and we'll get the definitive list as soon as the WVSSAC finalizes. But that has been signed into law. And again, it's not going to completely prevent transfers. There's just going to be a little bit more reason and rhyme to it. So that's the big one coming out today for West Virginia. And, of course, the game last night, Marshall beating Army 82-65, and Arkansas State beating Cleveland State 71-53. 50% of the Fab Four will be Sun Belt teams. 50% of the championship game will be Sun Belt teams. This is a pretty good basketball league for the women, right? We'll hopefully find out if the Herd can win the championship after beating Arkansas State. But that's tomorrow. We'll speculate a little bit. Continue on this edition of Your Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with this Tuesday edition of Your Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. We'll get that fired back up here in the next few minutes. But last night, we were looking at the brackets, and we thought, oh, this will be great. We could have a Sun Belt semifinal between Marshall and Arkansas State. Well, Marshall got its job done, beating Army 82-65, including a fourth quarter 21-0. 21-0, shutting Army out. And then Arkansas State beats Cleveland State 71-53. And to tell us more about that game and the game coming up with the Thundering Herd, Kara Richey joins us from the Ticket Radio Network in Jonesboro, Arkansas. One of my favorite follows on X. I'm not just saying that because you're here. You're absolutely one of the first people that, when Marshall joined the Sun Belt, you were all over trying to find out who the new people were.
I like to make friends, and so I feel like there's a pretty fun community around the Sun Belt in terms of media and absolutely bonkers fans. So I enjoy interacting with everybody, and Marshall has been a fantastic addition to the league.
Yeah, on the west side, I wish we had more crossover, to be fair. Football, it's very hard. Basketball, we get usually the one and done for the most part. Yeah. I wish there was more crossover because there are a lot of fun people on the west side.
I mean, I think we're fun, so I completely agree with that. And I know how wild and wacky some of the people are in Cajun country, and then with Troy and South, and of course all over the West. A lot of really entertaining personalities in media in the West part of the league, but it just kind of is what it is. You know, every time the Sun Belt adds a couple more teams, it seems like it just gets that much longer until A-State runs into Marshall or App State or Georgia Southern. So it's the league is great with the additions over the past few years, though. So no complaints, even though the meetings are not as frequent as maybe people would like.
So you're on board with Louisiana Tech. No problems there.
Please don't put words in my mouth. No, I
fair.
say that.
That's very fair. Absolutely.
No, look, I say that jokingly. Louisiana Tech is a historic rival of Arkansas State, and a lot of that animosity between the programs happened when the teams were in the Southland together. So this was in the 80s. This was before my time, and it was a very heated interactions when these teams played each other in the Southland. I mean, there would definitely be a football game, and sometimes there would be a brawl. And you were looking at about a 50-50 shot as to whether or not punches were thrown when these teams met on the football field in the 70s and ladies. So if you ask like some of the older A-State fans, they are not pleased about it. But ultimately, the thing with Tech that I don't know if people understand, it's not like they were the best choice. At the end of the day, they were kind of the only choice. And so it is what it is. Logistically, geographically, it's a great fit for the league. But I can understand how not everybody is united on loving their inclusion.
Should be fun no matter what the scenario is going to be when they get this schedule thing finally fixed. But that's for another day. We've got a basketball game coming up tomorrow. Marshall beat Army. I don't know how much of that you watched or saw, but shut Army out in that fourth. 21-0. It was amazing to see. And, of course, Arkansas State had no problem, it looked like, with Cleveland State, 71-53. What was your takeaway first from your game as this team got itself a bid into the Fab Four?
It was fun. This entire run for Arkansas State women's basketball and the WNIT has just been fun. And first off, A-State plays a very entertaining style of basketball. They press a lot. It's very high tempo. They shoot a lot of threes. It's an entertaining style to begin with, but it just feels like everybody on the court right now for the Red Wolves is having an absolute blast. The players, the coaches, and of course, that dissipates into the fans. And I think that's my biggest takeaway over these three games is that there's like a joy that you can feel in First National Bank Arena right now when this team is on the court. And then, of course, they've been winning these games very handily as well, which also helps. You go back to the win over Purdue-Fort Wayne for a moment, and A-State won that game on its shooting. Like, they made 10 threes in the first quarter, and it was more or less over after that. Last night against Cleveland State, it wasn't that there was just necessarily one thing that helped A-State beat the Vikings. It was the fact that there were 6 or 7 different categories where they were just a little bit better than Cleveland State. And then you add all of those up and it turns into an 18-point win. But the defense was incredible. You know, Cleveland State didn't hit a three in that game until there were 4 minutes remaining. There were some really dazzling passes on the night. It was a full team effort. A-State, of course, one of their big things is to force a boatload of turnovers. They forced 19 turnovers on the night. So again, it was just several small things that added up into just a really well played game for the Red Wolves.
Great crowds have been coming out for this one as well, and that leads me into my next thought: the bidding process for the WNIT. Marshall's at home, then Marshall's on the road. Marshall's back at home. Marshall's on the road again. Even the athletic director, Gerald Harrison, put out a statement disappointed in the selection process. I talked to him yesterday, and he put out this outlandish number. I know he's exaggerating. He said, hey, if a team bids $100,000, hey, congratulations. But you have any insight on the bidding process on your end? Because there are a lot of disappointed Herd fans knowing that Marshall could have hosted this game. I don't know if just Arkansas State had a lot more cash to spend. What was the deal?
I honestly have not heard anything that I can say with like concrete, you know, this is how much A-State spent, but I can tell you this, for this entire run, there has been a very confident feeling internally, or I guess, again, I haven't talked with AD Chris Pesman or anyone in upper admin for Arkansas State Athletics, but there has been a continual feeling throughout this entire tournament run that as long as Arkansas State won, their games would be played in Jonesboro. I don't know how much that cost. I don't know if it was something where, you know, Chris Pesman contacted the WNIT and said, hey, whatever the other team bids, we'll beat them by $50K or $10K or whatever else K. I don't know how those conversations unfolded, but I can tell you again, there has been confidence through the entire process that these games would be played in Jonesboro. And so that's what's going to happen tomorrow night.
It's also a matchup in which I don't think either team has to do too much preparation, just show up and play. This has really become a fun basketball rivalry. I don't know if you can compare it to some of the maybe more intense rivalries on the west side, but I think Arkansas and Arkansas State, at least in women's basketball, this has been one that we look forward to, I think, now.
Yeah. Well, I know that A-State is looking forward to getting this one back tomorrow because you flash back to that previous meeting, and both coaches are going to make adjustments based on the previous meeting. But not only was the previous meeting A-State's worst shooting game of the year, it might be the worst shooting game of the entire Destiny Rogers era. It was just A-State couldn't hit water if it fell out of a boat. I mean, the Red Wolves were 7 for 50 from three, which is just an outlandish number, both in the terms of how few they made and how many they shot. So I know they want to get this one back because you go through and you look at so many other aspects of that game, and A-State did a lot of the things that they normally do to have success. They just, it's hard to win when you can't shoot, and if you can't shoot, you can't score. So that was a big issue there the last time that these teams met up back in February.
Well, speaking with Marshall's athletic director, Gerald Harrison, yesterday, talking about how valuable this tournament has been for Marshall, and Coach Folks has even echoed this. Hey, not too many teams left are playing, especially in April. What do you think that the benefit's going to be for Arkansas State, and maybe in the Sun Belt in general, as you follow the league very, very closely, to have two teams in the Fab Four of the WNIT, and then, of course, you're going to have one team from the Sun Belt playing for a championship?
I think this was an excellent year for women's basketball in the Sun Belt Conference. I mean, you look around, and of course, James Madison was the team that made it into the NCAA tournament, but I forget off the top of my head how many teams went to the WBIT, and then you had multiple teams in the WNIT, and you look all up and down. There were so many different teams in the top 100 of the net rankings. So I think this just continues to show once again that this is a really good league. This is a deep league. There is top-tier talent in this league. There's a lot of really fun teams to watch. So I think this was a good step forward there. In terms of what it's doing for Arkansas State, this is a really senior-laden roster. So Destiny Rogers is recruiting right now. So when you get to have recruits come in and there is still postseason play going on, and there is postseason play at your home facility going on, and your home facility is full of some really, really loud fans, I mean, that is so much of an easier sell than just having somebody in on a random, Monday night in April when there's not going to be anybody around. So this is already paying dividends for Arkansas State in that aspect. I think there's 8 spots that Coach Rogers has to fill. So it's great for the league, and it's great here in Jonesboro too.
What are we looking for as far as the crowd? Marshall got 2,212. Arkansas State 2,258. And can we get 2,500 for this one? I know Marshall's athletic director is pushing, hey, if you're anywhere near this, you're a Herd fan, go to that game. So we might see a big crowd.
I think so. I think 2,500 is certainly doable. A-State's first 2 games, if you look and you're trying to compare and contrast attendance to what Marshall did in their home game, it's a little bit of an unfair comparison. The first 2 games to the WNIT for A-State were during spring break. So there was not a soul on campus. Not only was it spring break at A-State, all of the 5 local high schools were on their spring break as well. So Jonesboro was a little bit of a ghost town. So even though the numbers might not look fantastic for those first 2 A-State women's games in the tournament, considering what was going on in town, it was some really great numbers. And then, of course, we saw it over 2,200 last night. I think 25 is very doable. There have been some local businesses that have joined together and bought student tickets because, of course, this is not like a normal Sunbelt game where students are able to get in completely free with their student ID. Somebody has to go out and purchase those from the WNIT. So I'm hoping somebody steps up in the community again to do that. Because there was a great student contingent last night, and I think there's going to be another great crowd tomorrow. I really do.
Our guest from the Ticket Radio Network in Jonesboro, Arkansas, Kara Richey. She does a fantastic job covering not only Arkansas State, but the Sun Belt as well. Your X handle for anyone that maybe wants to follow along, because, again, you're not just talking about Arkansas State. I think you've got probably one of the best fingers on the pulse of the Sun Belt of all the Sun Belt type media accounts.
I've been lucky to do this for over a decade now, so there's been no shortage of Sunbelt Media Days and Sunbelt Bowl games and Sunbelt tournaments that I've had the privilege to go and cover. So I have been able to develop relationships all around the league. I know some of the ins and outs of how things run. Of course, I've still got a lot of questions as well, but I try and stay up to speed. And I am at Kara_Richey on Twitter, which is where I spend way too much of my time. So if anybody has any questions, comments, criticisms, fire away. DMs are always open.
I'm curious, 10 years, decade, what got you into radio?
It's a long story. It's actually not something I really trained for. I originally went and wanted to work at a radio station and do sales, and through a few different twists of fate, I ended up on air. That station folded. I got another job at the Ticket, which is where I'm at now, and I tried to be steadily a little bit less terrible at it each day, and they haven't ran me off yet. So this is actually, I think, going into year 13 or 14, maybe on air here on the Ticket.
I love it. I try to do the same, be a little less terrible every single day. That's sort of my goal at this. It's been a fun journey, absolutely, and of course it's been fun following you and listening in, because again, I'm not lying. I'll go now and then and go, hey, what is Kara doing? Okay, she's got a cool question. I can't steal that today. Maybe I'll get that later. Or you love the analytics, so the colored pens. You're all into that. So you definitely have one of the cooler accounts in the Sun Belt.
I am a huge fan of highlighters. Like that's the way to my heart. Surprise me with some highlighters, some colored pencils. I have no shortage of stat sheet all over my desk right now, and old Sun Belt schedules, and who knows what else. It's just kind of a mess. But that's the way my brain works. So. It works for me.
Okay, next time you're in Huntington, colored markers, right? That's what I need to bring you.
Yep, that's it.
Kara, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. And again, truly, I love following you. You're absolutely on top of it all the time. And I don't mind saying this. I will come to your account often just to steal good ideas.
No, steal away. I would love to be able to tell you that all of those ideas that you're stealing are mine. More often than not, they are not. So you're stealing. We're all stealing from somebody. But that's okay. Coaches do it. They steal good plays. Athletic departments do it when they see good promotion. So there's a lot of thievery in sports, and we're all right with it at the end of the day.
I honestly feel like there's only one promotions department in the Sun Belt, and it just changes the color palette for everything.
Yeah, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Kara Richey joining us, so you can follow her on the Ticket Radio Network. She'll be all over this game tomorrow night. Marshall taking on Arkansas State, the winner to play for the WNIT Championship. Kara, thanks for doing this as always, and we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, Paul, really enjoyed the chat. Thank you so much for the invite.
Kara Richey, everyone. We will continue with your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, 10:06, right here, ESPN 94.1 AM 930. It is Metro News Talk Line. Our text line is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. All right, let's get to the text line. We got a lot coming in. So, first up, texter says, where is the WNIT championship game played at? If Marshall should win and can win the bid, Marshall would host the championship game. So the team, the school that can win the bid will host the championship game. I'm hoping that if Marshall does win this game against Arkansas State, that it's throwing in a lot of weight to host this game, and we could have a championship game played here at the Cam Henderson Center. So it will be played wherever the WNIT feels is the strongest bid, and I'm hoping that might be Marshall if the Thundering Herd can get past Arkansas State. Texture says, Paul, my guess is 4,000 fans will show up for a championship game if held in Huntington. Gerald, are you listening, Gerald? Gerald, please get us this game. We were outbid by Youngstown State University and Arky State. Gerald, get the money. I'm guessing $100,001 will be needed. Julie needs the administration backing for recruiting, and fans need it for excitement at home. I appreciate the text. Okay, so if we could get 100,000 people just to donate $1, or maybe 50,000 people to donate $2, or 25,000 people to donate $4, we got to make this happen. Okay. That's a good thought, though. If Marshall can win this game, Marshall's beat them before. Marshall's 4-1 against Arkansas State. That's not saying that it's going to be the case tomorrow, but Marshall is 4-1 all time against Arkansas State. Could be 5-1 after this and potentially hosting the WNIT championship game. Texter says, "Oh, this is nice. Thank you." Texter says, "First of all, Paul, congratulations on your latest award. Well deserved. So if Marshall wins tomorrow, does anyone have an idea what the chances are of us hosting the WNIT championship game?" I think the chances are good. Absolutely. And it's all going to come down to what the pre-bid process is. We're going to know quickly after this. So if Marshall can win this game tomorrow, I have a feeling that Marshall's going to go in a little bit harder. You put that bid out thinking, okay, this is going to be a competitive bid, and if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I would look at this as an opportunity to say, okay, we can turn this thing around. We can get that next game. Let's save what we have for the championship game. Let's get that done if that's the possibility. So that's at least me speculating right now. I'm hoping that's going to be the case. Now, as far as the congratulations, thank you. I appreciate that. And let me explain, because we didn't get a chance really to talk about it. I'm not that kind of person. And honestly, I don't go out just humble bragging or bragging like that. I don't like getting in front of people and just telling people, hey, I'm so great. It's not that. But I was honored by the Virginia's Associated Press broadcasters with the West Virginia Lifetime Achievement Award. And I got to go pick that up in JMU country, of all places. If you weren't listening yesterday, Gerald Harrison kind of brought that up. Hey, I heard about that. And so I explained to him that it was cool. I was in Harrisonburg. We got to go pick that up, and it was fun to be there. I got to hang out with some of the students at WMU. Well, that's where I got my start, the campus radio station. But take that notation aside. Even though it's the campus radio station, it's a full-fledged public radio station. And so I got my start there. Very thankful for everyone there who has been supporting me, and then everyone here at Kinder Communications. Because I was unemployed. I was unemployed for like 6 months after where I previously worked, had some downsizing, and I didn't know what the next opportunity would be. So thankfully, I was able to land a spot here, and we've been off and running since, and it's been a fun journey. So I appreciate that. It's very prestigious, and the whole gravity of the situation, still hasn't fully hit me, but it's not lost on me. So I appreciate it. And the thing about this honor was I got to go to Harrisonburg, and in front of a room full of JMU grads, whoever, I got to say "Go Herd." Absolutely got to say "Go Herd" in front of them. That was probably one of the personal highlights for me. So I appreciate it. Thank you for that. I really do, because sometimes you just don't know if people actually are out there thinking of you, caring, or appreciating you. I do what I do on this show for you, so that's why I hopefully will be able to continue to entertain you, inform you, annoy you, tick you off, whatever we need to do to get you to have a good time during the drive home. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That is our number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We got comments from Tony Gibson. We're going to get to those when we continue on this edition of Your Drive.
Listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Our text line is still open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. As I promised, we've got comments from Marshall football coach Tony Gibson. Thundering Herd getting set for the spring game, of course, doing its preparation now for the rest of the year, as this is laying the groundwork for the upcoming season. So Coach was available earlier today to talk a little bit about how the team has progressed and what he's seen so far. And let's get his comments on what he thought about the day and, of course, the week as the Thundering Herd is closer to that spring game.
We, did some really good stuff. Great plays on offense, great plays on defense. Kind of went back and forth. Today was just about fixing some things. We tried some new schemes offensively, did some new stuff, but kids are getting it. I mean, they're practicing really hard. And, it matters to them right now. So I'm happy with that. And, we got a couple more weeks here of spring ball. And so just excited for April 11th.
It just seems like your enthusiasm and the players' enthusiasm this year compared to last year is just like off the charts, just because of familiarity and everybody knows what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, we know each other a little bit better now. So, but, it's just they're gelling. They understand the culture we're trying to build here. They understand the expectation. When we come out and practice, we got to get our work in, and they've done a great job with that. So, just guys being on time, doing stuff the right way, working hard. We're not wasting time right now.
You named some of the kids in the scrimmage who may have kind of shown out, and they
Yeah, I thought Carlos played really well. He led the offense to a couple scoring drives. We didn't play him much, but he looked good. Khalil had a good scrimmage. I thought Judah Price had a really good scrimmage. Defensively, some of our older guys we sat, but Cannon Lewis played extremely well. And then we had some young guys to step up and do some good stuff too. So I was excited about that. Zeke Gunn played well. So a couple of those young DBs played really well.
I've heard you talk about Judah a couple times. Could you speak to his progression, especially in state kids?
Yeah. Judah is, right now he's getting a lot of reps with Barbie down. So, he's doing some things that we really like. I mean, he's explosive. He does some really good stuff for us.
It's good to kind of get that with him for his momentum, considering you lose a couple guys in the portal, but you get him and he's in the system. He knows what it is.
Yeah, Judah, and last year we thought that, Judah, I mean, he was on scout team a little bit, and then toward the end we started using him a little more. And so I really like where he's at right now. He's growing, he's building, and he's going to be in the mix.
What kinds of things are you looking to accomplish before the spring Saturday?
Yeah, what we have to do, we've got to kind of solidify the offensive line a little bit. We got a lot of guys that are, that are in the mix with our inside positions at center and guard. Slappy coming back at guard. We've got Tariq back at tackle. We've got Bosley. It's an older kid that transferred into tackle. And so we got some battles going on there. Just try to get our top 7 or 8 guys really is the goal on our offensive side. I think everywhere else we pretty much know what we have. And then defensively, the D-line. We lost a lot of defensive linemen in the portal, and we got some guys that are stepping up right now. Braden Ward and Cam Chimera, those guys are playing really well right now for us. So try to build depth, and then we've got some linebackers that are banged up that aren't practicing. So some young guys getting reps. So yeah, just trying to build our depth and stack some days here.
Talked a little bit about the D-line last week, just how'd they look in the scrimmage in general and everything.
Good, and again, Braden didn't scrimmage a lot. We don't need to see him as much, but thought some, Kelvon McBride played well, Cole played well. So, we had some guys stepping up and doing some good things. Kenyatta, our transfer from Kentucky, is playing really well right now. So, we're building it. It's coming along, though, just as I thought it would.
Tony Gibson, his comments earlier this morning as Thundering Herd getting ready for the spring game. And, of course, the practices leading up to that lay the foundation for the upcoming season. We've got time for a couple of player interviews as well, and we still have time for you. Our text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I read them as they come, so we'll hit that here in a minute. Let's hear from, we got a couple of guys. We'll probably get to them tomorrow, but we'll see how long we can go. We have, I think I'm going to go with the transfer quarterback, Khalil Wilkins. He is a redshirt sophomore quarterback, and his story is he was at WVU. He was in Morgantown, so he makes the change, and he comes to Huntington, and that's where we begin with his thoughts on making that switch, trying to establish himself and show what he can do.
Honestly, I would say, I hit the portal. Coach Smith called me, and, we was just talking for, a little bit, and I just put everything in God's hands, and he led me here.
We've seen what you can do athletically. I mean, you bring a little different dimension to the QB room. Talk to us about what you think you'd be the best.
I think everybody is good in their own way. I believe that I have a great talent as far as running the ball and throwing, making plays, and just, being a leader on and off the field.
Does this offense suit you for that in that terms of letting you kind of freelance a little bit within the system, but also showing your athleticism?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This offense is really it's a great offense for a dual threat. We're able to show off our skills as far as running the ball or throwing it. So it put defenses in a bad place because they don't know what's coming.
How much does it help to have Carlos and Zion in the same room? And they obviously have been around the program, so it helps you to kind of feel your way around?
Yeah, I would say iron sharpens iron. So, certain things that I may, have a gray area on or anything like that, I may look and learn from their mistakes and also learn from the greatness that they do. So it's just, we all make each other better.
Talking to AD last week, he was saying how he caught up with you and was working with you before, spring and everything. Can you just speak to connection with the receivers so far and how they've been for you?
Yeah, so the receivers are great. The best thing that I like about it is we're family oriented. It's not just a situation where we just get on the field and just play. Like, we actually hang together. The biggest thing to success, I feel, is chemistry. So when I first got here, the biggest thing that I wanted to do was just build the chemistry with my teammates, my brothers. And, they bring me in with open arms. And I just want to say thank you to them for that.
Chemistry's kind of more important now maybe than it's ever been, just because of the portal. You got to get together quick. Don't
Absolutely.
You?
Absolutely. It's a lot of guys coming from different places and from different areas. You get about 40 plus guys every year. Nobody knows each other. So everybody's just out there trying to do their 111, which doing your 111 is, I would say, is great, but you got to be able to trust in your brother that's beside you.
How good is it for you guys when it comes to getting offense ready to have, all three, both you, Zion, and Carlos, are all kind of doing the same things in a way? Like, you all have that skill set where you can run the ball. And
you saying, like, how good is it to have everybody?
Like, just all of the quarterbacks kind of having that similar skill set in this system. How good is that for helping you guys get going here?
It's great. It's great. I would say that because, like I said, again, as far as the chemistry, like the receivers, the O-line, it's not really a big difference when me, Carlos, or Zion is in the game. That's one thing. Another is the opposite team, they don't know what's coming. They don't know who's starting. They don't know who's playing, so that's the pro in it.
What's the biggest takeaway from the scrimmage last week, and how does that, guys, help you as you go forward heading into the spring game?
I would say that's a great one. Wait, re-ask that.
Yeah, just what out of you guys scrimmage last week? Just what did you see out of it? How does that kind of help?
Oh, so our scrimmage on Friday, I definitely seen that we are becoming a better offense than one. It's certain things that we need to fix as far as, like, as a quarterback, our timing, or maybe we need to be on the same page if we get in a boundary blitz or anything like that. But I took that we're moving faster than usual.
Comments from potentially a future starting quarterback for the Thundering Herd, Khalil Wilkins, and we're learning some of these new players as well, learning their names, learning their stories. And he is now part of the Thundering Herd. Our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Let's see. Texter just wrote in, and I'll say thank you before I read it. Paul, congrats on your award. This couldn't have gone to anyone more deserving. We are so lucky to still have you in Huntington. Hope you remain here for many years to come. Thanks for the awesome job you do. Go Herd. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's a process every day. Just trying to get better. Absolutely. Still a lot to learn. Still a lot to do. Still a long ways to go until I'm happy with the final product. But no, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And hopefully, I've said this before, hopefully every day we get a little bit better. Just a little bit better. Sort of like the coaches. Don't forget, there's baseball action we're going to be talking about tomorrow. The Thundering Herd in action, taking on those Bobcats from Athens. That is coming up tonight, 6 o'clock. Also, Thundering Herd tomorrow. And the Fab Four, not the Final Four, the Fab Four of the WNIT taking on Arkansas State, a Sun Belt matchup. The winner to play in the WNIT championship, and I've got to honestly believe that Marshall goes full court press on that championship game if the Thundering Herd should win tomorrow against Arkansas State. Nothing is guaranteed, and of course, we've got baseball on the road this week against App State. The softball team's at home this week against App State as well, and of course, the tennis team taking on Coastal Carolina. That's coming up on April 3rd. So there's a lot going on. Of course, our focus tomorrow is going to be the Marshall women in action, WNIT taking on Arkansas State. And I'm hoping that we can talk about that championship game on the Thursday edition of the show. We're going to have, I believe, someone from Marshall tomorrow to kind of get us updated on everything going on. And, of course, we're not going to have details on tickets or anything like that too soon. But if there's a game plan in place, we'll get that information to you hopefully tomorrow. Again, usually we talk to someone from the hospitality side of things, from some of the events. We don't have who we're going to talk to just yet planned, but that's kind of on the top of my mind. Hey, what do we know? What do we need to know if Marshall should win? What's going to be the game plan for that championship game? And I would honestly think that it's going to be same as it has been the past two games that the Thundering Herd has been able to host. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for tuning in. I will be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.